The world has trained you to believe a lie. It tells you that anger is strength, that the loudest voice wins, that emotion is proof of power. But look closer. Anger is expected. Anger is predictable. Anger is easy to provoke, easy to guide, easy to use. Calm is different. Calm makes people uneasy. Calm creates silence where noise is demanded. Calm refuses to perform. And that is exactly why the world fears it. From an early age, you are rewarded for reaction. If you get angry, people listen. If you explode, people respond. If you show emotion, you are acknowledged. So you learn, slowly and unconsciously, that peace equals passivity. That restraint equals weakness. That calm means you have lost. But this belief was never designed to make you powerful. It was designed to make you manageable. Because a calm person cannot be rushed, cannot be baited, cannot be pulled into chaos on command. And systems built on control do not survive people like that. Notice how discomfort spreads when you stay quiet during conflict. How people start filling the silence with assumptions. How they project intentions, insults, motives, anything to regain control. Your calm takes away their leverage. Anger gives people access to you. Calm locks the door. When you react emotionally, your inner world becomes public. Your buttons are exposed. Your next move is obvious. But when you remain calm, you become unreadable. And unreadable people are dangerous, not because they attack, but because they cannot be predicted. The world doesn't fear violence. It has learned how to handle that. The world fears the person who feels deeply but moves slowly. Who hears everything but reveals nothing. Who refuses to trade inner stability for momentary relief. Calm is not the absence of emotion. It is mastery over it. It is the discipline to pause when instinct screams to strike. The strength to observe when ego demands defense. The courage to hold silence when noise would be easier. This is why calm is mistaken for weakness, because it does not advertise itself. Weakness is loud. Strength is quiet. A calm person does not need to prove dominance. They do not rush to be understood. They do not explain themselves to chaos. They wait. They watch. They choose. And in that pause, power is formed. Most people live their lives reacting. To disrespect. To pressure. To fear. They confuse urgency with importance. They confuse emotion with truth. They confuse movement with progress. Calm breaks this cycle. Calm creates distance between stimulus and response. And in that distance, you regain ownership of yourself. This is what makes calm threatening. Because a person who owns themselves cannot be owned by the world. Not by outrage. Not by manipulation. Not by expectation. Calm does not mean you lack fire. It means the fire answers to you. And that is where real strength begins. This is the Stoic response, where silence becomes strength. Anger feels powerful in the moment. It surges through the body. It sharpens the voice. It convinces you that you are finally standing your ground. But anger is not power. Anger is exposure. The moment you lose control, the world gains information about you. Your limits. Your triggers. Your weaknesses. And information is leverage. An angry person is easy to read. Easy to provoke. Easy to guide exactly where others want them to go. That is why anger is encouraged. The world rewards outrage because outrage is useful. It creates division. It fuels cliques, arguments, conflict, noise. It keeps people busy reacting instead of thinking. An angry mind does not plan. It responds. And response without reflection is obedience in disguise. When you are angry, your attention narrows. Your vision tunnels. You stop seeing options and start seeing threats. Your body prepares for a fight that may not even exist. This is not strength. This is loss of command. Notice how quickly anger escalates situations that could have been controlled. One comment becomes an argument. One insult becomes a grudge. One moment of emotion becomes a decision that lasts years. Anger speeds you up, and speed makes mistakes inevitable. Predictability is born from urgency. When someone knows you will react, they no longer fear you. They only need to press the right button. And most people walk around with those buttons exposed. This is why manipulators provoke. Why insecure people insult. Why weak minds try to trigger reactions. They are not testing your strength. They are testing your control. And anger always answers. The angry person thinks they are being bold. But from the outside, they are transparent. Their words reveal their insecurity. Their tone reveals their fear. Their actions reveal that they can be moved. Calm people see this clearly. They understand that every emotional reaction is a signal sent outward, a message that says, "This is where you can reach me." Anger hands control to the external world. It lets circumstances decide your inner state. That is why systems thrive on it. Because it does not resist quietly. It moves exactly when told to move. Anger creates the illusion of rebellion while reinforcing submission. You shout. You vent. You explode. And then you are exhausted. Calm, on the other hand, conserves energy. It gathers information. It delays action until action matters. This is why calm frustrates people. They cannot read your next move. They cannot rush your decision. They cannot hijack your emotions. And without access to your emotions, they have nothing to work with. Anger tells the world who you are. Calm makes the world guess. One gives away power. The other withholds it. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about refusing to let emotion drive. You can feel anger without obeying it. You can acknowledge the fire without letting it burn the house down. Strength is not found in the outburst. It is found in restraint. Because the person who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. And the world does not fear angry people. It depends on them. This is the Stoic response: master your reaction, and you take back your power. There is a reason calm unsettles people. It gives them nothing to work with. No emotional cues. No visible tension. No reaction to interpret. In a world obsessed with signals, calm is silence, and silence creates uncertainty. Most people navigate life by reading emotional patterns. They test. They provoke. They watch how quickly someone reacts. From those reactions, they decide how far they can go. But calm breaks this system. When you don't rush to respond, others begin to lose their footing. They speak more than they planned. They reveal more than they intended. They project meaning where none was given. Calm turns observation into an advantage. A calm person is not empty. They are aware. They see what others miss because they are not consumed by inner noise. They hear the tone beneath the words. They notice the insecurity hidden inside aggression. While others are busy defending their ego, the calm person is gathering clarity. This is what makes calm powerful: it delays exposure. Anger reveals intention instantly. Calm conceals it. And what cannot be read cannot be rushed. This is why calm feels intimidating. You cannot tell if a calm person agrees or disagrees. If they are offended or indifferent. If they are planning or simply waiting. And waiting, when done with awareness, is never passive. It is strategic. Calm is the space where decisions mature. Where impulse loses its grip. Where action becomes precise instead of emotional. The calm person chooses when to move, not because they are slow, but because they are exact. They do not waste energy on reactions that change nothing. They save it for moments that matter. This makes their actions heavier. More deliberate. More final. People mistake this for distance. For coldness. For detachment. But calm is not disconnection. It is connection without surrender. It is the ability to remain present without being pulled apart by what is happening around you. This is why calm commands respect without demanding it. No raised voice. No threats. No explanation. Just presence. And presence cannot be argued with. When you are calm, you are no longer negotiating with chaos. You are observing it. You are no longer trying to control others. You are controlling access to yourself. This is the quiet shift that changes everything. Because the moment you stop reacting, the world must adjust to you. Not the other way around. Calm removes urgency from conflict. And without urgency, manipulation fails. Pressure needs speed. Control needs emotion. Chaos needs participation. Calm denies all three. This is why calm feels dangerous to those who rely on reaction. It cannot be provoked. It cannot be baited. It cannot be forced. And the person who cannot be forced moves freely in a world that depends on pressure. Calm is not hesitation. It is readiness without exposure. It is the strength to wait without losing balance. To listen without agreeing. To see without revealing. And once you understand this, you stop chasing loud power. You realize the most dangerous position is the one that says nothing and sees everything. This is the Stoic response, where control is quiet, and power does not announce itself. The moment you remain calm, something changes in the room. Not inside you, inside others. Your silence becomes a mirror. And many people do not like what they see reflected back. Most people live in a constant state of inner noise. Unresolved frustration. Unspoken insecurity. Emotions waiting for a place to land. When they meet calm, that noise has nowhere to go. So they try to place it on you. They provoke. They question your motives. They test your patience. Not because you did something wrong, but because your calm exposes their lack of control. Calm highlights contrast. When you don't react, their reaction looks excessive. When you don't defend yourself, their aggression looks unnecessary. When you don't explain, their assumptions grow louder. Your restraint makes their behavior visible. And that is uncomfortable. They are not attacking you, they are trying to restore balance in their own mind. To them, your silence feels like judgment. Your composure feels like superiority. Your patience feels like rejection. So they push harder. They raise their voice. They escalate the situation. They search for a reaction, any reaction, to reassure themselves that you are just as unstable as they are. Because if you react, they feel normal again. This is projection at work. People do not respond to who you are. They respond to what your presence awakens in them. A calm person becomes a threat in a world that survives on emotional exchange. Because calm does not trade. It does not argue. It does not justify. It does not compete for dominance. It stands. And standing still in chaos makes chaos visible. That visibility triggers those who depend on disorder to feel alive, important, or in control. So understand this clearly: when someone tries to provoke you, they are revealing their weakness, not yours. They need your reaction to regulate themselves. They need your anger to validate their own. They need your participation to continue the cycle. Calm refuses to participate. This is why calm feels like resistance. Not loud resistance. Not dramatic resistance. Quiet resistance. It says, I will not carry what you refuse to face. And that boundary frustrates people who have never learned to carry themselves. You will be misunderstood for this. Accused of being cold, arrogant, unbothered in the wrong way. But calm was never meant to be understood by those addicted to reaction. It was meant to protect you. Once you see this, you realize that every attempt to disturb your peace is proof that your peace has value. And value always attracts pressure. Not because it is weak, but because it is rare. This is the Stoic response: remain calm, and let chaos reveal itself. Reaction is not strength. It only feels like it. Reaction is the nervous system firing before wisdom arrives. It is the body answering a threat that may not even be real. A raised voice. A harsh message. A memory pressed too hard. And suddenly, you move. You speak before you think. You act before you choose. You feel before you understand. This is not freedom. This is reflex. The Stoics understood something most people never stop long enough to see: the moment you react automatically, you surrender authority over yourself. Your mood is no longer yours. Your behavior is no longer deliberate. Your inner world is now governed by external events. That is slavery. Reaction is fast, loud, and emotional. It feels justified. It feels urgent. It tells you, do something now or you'll lose control. But reaction is not control. It is the absence of it. A reacting mind is dragged through life by triggers. By people's opinion. By circumstances it cannot command. By impulses that feel powerful but leave regret behind. The Stoics didn't call this weakness out of cruelty. They called it out of clarity. Because there is another way. Response. Response is slower. Quieter. Almost invisible from the outside. Response is the pause where power lives. It is the breath you take before answering. The space between stimulus and action. The moment where you ask, what is actually happening here? Not what does my emotion say, but what does reason see? Response does not deny emotion. It masters it. Calm is often misunderstood as passive, as indifference, as submission. But calm is not the absence of strength. It is strength under control. A calm mind is not asleep, it is awake without panic. It observes instead of flinching. It chooses instead of exploding. When you respond instead of react, something radical happens. You reclaim authorship over yourself. The insult may still exist. The pressure may still be real. The chaos may still rage. But it no longer owns your nervous system. It no longer dictates your next move. This is where freedom begins. Not in changing the world. Not in controlling other people. But in governing the one place you were always meant to rule, your inner state. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not disturb us. Our judgments about them do. Reaction is judgment without examination. Response is judgment refined by awareness. And awareness creates space. Space creates choice. Choice creates freedom. A reactive person lives in chains they cannot see. Pulled by emotion. Provoked by noise. Exhausted by constant inner warfare. A responsive person lives differently. They still feel, but they are not possessed by feeling. They still care, but they are not controlled by care. They move through pressure without being shaped by it. This is not about being slow in life. It is about being precise. The pause is not weakness. The pause is a weapon. It allows you to see motives clearly. To recognize manipulation. To avoid unnecessary battles. To act in alignment with who you are, not who the moment tries to make you become. Most people believe freedom means doing whatever they feel. The Stoics knew the opposite is true. The person who cannot restrain their reactions is never free. They are predictable. They are easy to provoke. They are ruled from the outside in. Freedom is self-command. And self-command begins where reaction ends. This is the turning point. From this moment forward, the work is simple, but not easy. You slow down where others speed up. You stay grounded where others spiral. You pause where others combust. And in that pause, you take your life back. This is the Stoic response, and calm is your rebellion. Power does not announce itself. It doesn't raise its voice to be heard. It doesn't posture, threaten, or rush to be recognized. Real power moves differently. It enters a room quietly, and the room adjusts. Most people mistake noise for strength. They believe authority must be loud, visible, aggressive. They flex opinions, defend egos, dominate conversations. But this is not power. This is insecurity trying to look dangerous. The Stoics saw strength where others overlooked it. In restraint. In composure. In presence. The strongest men in history were not reactive creatures. They were deliberate, measured, unmoved by trivial provocation. They did not waste energy proving themselves. They conserved it, and used it when it mattered. Calm is not emotional suppression. It is emotional command. A calm man does not lack fire. He contains it. He knows that fire, uncontrolled, burns everything, including the one who holds it. But fire, mastered, becomes light. Becomes warmth. Becomes force. Noise is often a signal of inner chaos. The louder someone becomes, the less control they usually have. The more they explain, justify, threaten, the more their authority leaks away. True authority is felt before it is understood. It doesn't argue for its existence. It doesn't chase validation. It stands. Presence is what remains when ego is silent. A calm presence slows the pace of chaos. It steadies unstable rooms. It makes others speak more carefully, not because they are afraid, but because they sense weight. This is masculine strength in its highest form. Not domination, but gravity. A man who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. A man who does not need to react holds the advantage. A man who chooses silence over impulse sees further than those blinded by emotion. Calm sharpens perception. It allows you to read intention, to sense timing, to strike only when necessary. The Stoics didn't glorify constant action. They revered precision. Most battles are unnecessary. Most arguments are traps. Most displays of ego are drains disguised as victories. The calm individual understands this. He lets others exhaust themselves. He waits. He observes. And when he moves, it is decisive. No wasted motion. No emotional residue. No regret. This is power without noise. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need witnesses. It doesn't need to be explained. It simply works. Calm is no longer just control here. It is presence refined. A grounded awareness that cannot be shaken by insult, urgency, or fear. In a world addicted to reaction, calm becomes intimidating. Because it cannot be manipulated. Because it cannot be rushed. Because it cannot be baited. This is what it means to be unshakable. Not because nothing touches you, but because nothing owns you. This is the Stoic response, where silence becomes strength. At first, calm is something you practice. A technique. A discipline you return to when emotions rise. But over time, something changes. Calm stops being something you do, and becomes something you are. This is the quiet transformation most people never reach. Not because it is complicated, but because it requires letting go of the need to react. In a reactive world, this alone makes you different. Insults begin to lose their weight. Not because they stop arriving, but because they no longer land where they used to. The words still exist. The tone may still sting. But the impact fades quickly. You no longer rush to defend an image. You no longer scramble to correct perception. You no longer hand strangers the authority to define you. Their opinions pass through you like weather. Not ignored, but unabsorbed. Chaos doesn't disappear either. Life remains loud, unpredictable, demanding. But chaos becomes background noise, not a command. You hear it without obeying it. You see urgency without inheriting panic. You acknowledge pressure without surrendering clarity. This is emotional independence. Not numbness. Not detachment from life. But stability that cannot be borrowed or stolen. The Stoics never sought to feel nothing. They sought to feel less ruled. They understood that the person who needs external approval is always vulnerable. The person who needs validation is always reachable. The person who needs to be understood is always exposed. When calm becomes your baseline, this dependency dissolves. You stop explaining yourself to uninterested ears. You stop performing for invisible judges. You stop living as if your worth is under constant review. Calm becomes armor. Not the kind that makes you rigid, but the kind that allows movement without injury. You are still open. Still human. Still capable of feeling deeply. But you are no longer fragile. Reactivity used to pull you outward, toward conflict, toward noise, toward unnecessary struggle. Now, your center holds. You act from principle, not provocation. From intention, not impulse. From alignment, not ego. This is what it means to become untouchable. Not immune to life, but unreachable by chaos. The world still moves. People still test boundaries. Situations still demand responses. But they no longer move you. You move yourself. This is the Stoic response, and calm is your rebellion.